Hi, everyone. Welcome to Transitions. I'm Anne Wagner, your host, and today my guest is Gina Horswood. Welcome back, Gina.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for coming again.
Thank you for having me.
So for those of you that haven't met Gina before, Gina is a gifted musician from the Muskoka area. And Gina, the last time we were talking as part of our Women in Music series, you were talking about how a lot of your music is autobiographical. Mm-hmm. And I'm just wondering if, and you played us some songs last time, are there ever any songs that you decide are just too personal to share with an audience?
Absolutely. I've written a few songs that I played live for a little while when I knew certain people who I wrote them about weren't going to be in the audience.
Planning ahead.
Yeah, but since they've sort of been put to bed, I think I sang them while I needed to sing them, and then I don't sing them anymore, and it was never really a conscious decision. They just kind of went out of rotation. Mm-hmm. There are some songs that people have asked me specifically not to sing or release, and out of respect, I haven't. So yeah, there are times where I probably go a little bit too harsh, too far into the truth. Maybe, I don't know, but I will sing whatever song it is until I feel I've dealt with that issue or that song and I'm ready to not sing it anymore, or until someone specifically says please stop. So yeah, they definitely exist.
So it sounds like writing for you is a bit of a process, and it does help you get through situations.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for most part the songs that I really need to write happen quite subconsciously. They're out and they're done in 10 minutes, but then I sit with them and I live with them for a few months, and I'll play them live, and each time they kind of change a little bit, or someone talks to me about it after a show and says, oh wow, I really connected with that song, or who did you write that about, that poor guy, or that kind of thing. So again, I think it is a process. It is my therapy, and I use it until I don't need to anymore in terms of each particular song.
So I'm just wondering then how that process gets tied into what's going on in your life. Do you find that if you're going through a difficult period, you write more?
I think so, yeah. It really depends too on, what's going on at the time. And as an example, the last few months I've been insanely busy and probably haven't written as much as I would like to, but certainly at times when, life or work or gigging or business isn't quite so intense, I will write every day, sometimes 2 or 3 songs a day. Not all of them are keepers by any means, but I work my way through a couple of songs a day for a couple of weeks at a time easily, depending on how much time I have on my hands. So, and then there are times where, I guess recently, the last week or so, I've been insanely busy. I haven't written anything for a little while. And my grandma, who's been battling cancer, she was sort of on her final legs. Mind you, they told us that would be happening 6 months ago, so she really fought through. But eventually I just went, I have to turn off every device in my house and sit down and just sit with my guitar and not even necessarily play it. But I did that, and I wrote a song for my gran. And she died 3 days later. So yeah, eventually the necessity to write overpowers the busyness, but just not always as often as I'd like.
So you're able to deliberately set aside time and say, now this is going to be my writing time?
I don't do it as well as I should. So I try really hard to have like a planner and plan out my day hour by hour, which has only really become necessary in the last 6 months or so, trying to do a new album and all of that fun stuff. But I do always try and say I'm going to try and at least sit down. Oh, I think I have a spare hour or 2 on that day. I'm going to try and only write. But 9 times out of 10, if I don't, again, turn everything off, something will come up. someone will email me, someone will Facebook message me. So it really is, these days it's a matter of literally shutting down. Like, I will actually turn all of the lights off in my apartment and turn off the computer and turn off my phone and sit down and just be still. And generally then everything that I've been feeling like I've needed to say in the last couple of months comes out in a song or three.
Okay. And that's what I was wondering about. Do you have to wait for inspiration to hit, or are things ruminating in your mind already and you just need the time?
Mostly it's the time. I'm always, ideas pop into my head all of the time. And I do a lot of driving, which seems to be a really creative space for me. I do concentrate on the road, but I have, my voice recorder set on my phone so that I can just open it up via voice command and not have to touch buttons and drive illegally or anything. But quite often when I'm driving, an idea will come, and it will be a melody, or more often than not it's a lyric, and I just sort of open up my recorder and get that down and get that out. And then when I have a solid few hours aside, I go back and I've got 10 or 15 recordings of just snippets. Like, it might be a verse and a chorus or a whole song. And then I work on those pieces. So my writing process has changed a lot in probably the last year or so. I used to just sit down and write in blocks and get a whole song out at a time. And now I kind of write more in pieces and then put them all together when I've got the time to. So.
And have you ever encountered a time where you really felt like you weren't able to produce?
Oh, absolutely. I've definitely suffered from writer's block, or whatever they call it. But I was reading the biography of Anthony Kiedis, I think is how you say his last name, the lead singer from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Oh, yes.
And he had a great quote. He said, you're never blocked, you just don't have anything to say at that time. And so I've learned to deal with the block, so to speak, better, I guess, as I've gotten older. But I will go every now and then 2 or 3 months without writing something, and I start to get really stressed out about it. I'm never going to write a song again. My life is over. That's kind of how, my catastrophe level thinking kicks in. But eventually I took myself out of that and just realized it's just not the right time. You just got to wait for it to come. So. And
do you always work alone?
Not always. I find sometimes I'm better that way. But I've been in studios with complete strangers in Nashville and written some okay songs out of those sessions. Sometimes I write with some friends. I've been writing a little bit lately with my friend Danny. And it really depends on the circumstance. I certainly enjoy co-writing if I have the opportunity. But again, putting two people's schedules together is very challenging when I can't even manage my own. So, it depends.
And so you're usually a solo performer, but not always, am I right?
That's correct, yep. Yeah, so one of the amazing things about being in Muskoka is we're surrounded by an incredible range of musicians, very talented musicians, and all of whom I love. So I get to hang out with them on a regular basis, and usually if they're around and I've got a gig and they're not busy and playing their own show, I can, they'll come and sit in on some of my stuff, and a lot of them have learnt, some of my originals now, which is really cool. So, I've, Lopez and Jamie Sherman and Tamika are all they're kind of my crew up here. If I'm fortunate enough to bring them in, I will. And it all just, again, depends on the circumstance, but it's really cool to be able to call on musicians at any given moment and have someone come in and sit on your stuff. It's pretty amazing.
So it sounds like it's a bit of a unique culture musically here in
Muskoka. It really is, yeah. And I sort of, today alone, I've been to, I go and see a play, and then I go and hang out and play music with people or whatever. It's just, it's an incredible, it is a unique culture in Muskoka, I think, and one that certainly needs more recognition, because when I left Toronto to come back up to Muskoka last year, that, you know, some of my friends were sort of like, why are you doing that? And I do love Toronto, but I think not many people realize just how creative the scene is up here. So it's something that I certainly I fly that flag whenever I can.
Well, that's good to know. So we've all got to get out and support our local musicians.
Absolutely.
So we're just going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsors, and we'll be right back with Gina Horswood on Transitions. Welcome back to Transitions. We're here today with Gina Horswood.
Gold with diamonds and you think it's okay. It's not like I was ever taught to fly anyway. You wanna put me in a cage. You want me to sing on command. You'll choose the tune and when and where I will stand. When you've had enough, you will just raise up your hand. You want me to sing on command. But I have lost my voice. I am broken. And if I had the choice, I'd take my birth and I'd revoke it. You want me to jump through your hoops like some circus animal that's mastered by you. If I don't succeed, you'll see a punishment through. You want me to jump through your hoops. You wanna paint my nails red, put on a smile so the whole world forgets. Poised and polite, I am the perfect distraction. You wanna paint my nails red, but my nails turn blue. My brittle hands are broken, malnourished and abused, and it's too late to just revoke it. You wanna put me in a cage. You want me to sing on command. You want me to jump through your fiery hoops. You wanna paint my nails red. But I have lost my voice. I am broken. And if I had the choice, I'd take my birth and I'd revoke it. I'm gonna put this hurt to bed. You'll get complacent if I keep saying yes. Then I'll steal the keys and free myself from your mess. I'm gonna put this hurt to bed. Thank you.
That was a very beautiful and haunting song.
Thank you.
Is there a story behind it?
There is. I would say it was probably originally inspired by my mum or my relationship with my mum. She's not quite as evil as I make out in that song, but we've certainly had our challenges, and she suffers from depression, manic depressant, and that song was kind of my way of saying I wouldn't become victim to that, I guess. Eventually self-preservation kicked in, and for a long time I didn't speak to her, and just because I didn't know how to deal with that kind of relationship. So that's really kind of where that one came from.
That's quite powerful.
Yeah, lots of people don't kind of originally associate it with a parent. I think it probably stems across a lot of relationships, be it a partner who kind of tries to clip your wings, for want of a better expression, that kind of thing. And really that's sort of exactly what it's about. Not having the freedom to be yourself in any relationship. So yeah, it's a dark but also empowering tune, I guess, for me anyway.
And that's one of the things I find most intriguing about your music. We can all listen to it and interpret it in different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of songs. I know the Make a Deal / Why Should I Wait / No Immunity song that got to number one on Hunter's Day. Some people think that's about dying, just because it talks about not waiting for heaven, but really for me that song's about living in the moment and making the most of now. But it's always really interesting to hear how other people interpret it. So I've started I used to always tell the story before a song, but now I'm doing that less and letting people tell me what they think it is about, and it's really cool to hear how people interpret it.
And it seems as a performer, you really do engage with your audience on so many levels. So it's not just a one-way performance.
Right. Yeah, well, I mean, that's always sort of been my thing. When I realized that I wanted to write songs, I think the first time a complete stranger came up to me after I'd played a song and I was 16 or 17, and they said, wow, like, I really connected with that, and you've made my day because I've lost someone and you played this song, and I feel like we've been through this same experience together, and you've given me hope that it gets better. And I thought, wow, that's what it's about. Like, that is why I want to write songs. We all share experiences, different experiences, but ultimately our emotions are all the same. So to be able to connect with people on that level and hopefully give them some hope that there is something on the other side of whatever trouble you're going through, is really a big goal of mine. And a lot of my friends pay me out for only writing sad songs, but in my mind, a lot of them are very hopeful because I talk about the sadness and then I talk about the post-sadness, which is a good place. So I hope that people can connect with that.
And it seems to me like you're opening a lot of doors. You're raising topics that we often aren't comfortable talking about.
Right. Well, that's another thing. Music is an incredible way to talk about something that is taboo in society, I've found. And, I've been through many experiences in my lifetime where it really, according to a lot of people, you're not allowed to talk about that at the dinner table kind of thing. And my family were quite traditional in that respect when I was a kid. So it was, I could never really understand that, but I always felt like I had to keep my mouth shut. So I wrote songs instead. And that's the beauty of music, I think, is being able to connect in a way that it's okay to talk about it in a song, even if you can't talk about it over your supper, sort of thing. So that's why I love it. It's why I do it.
And you haven't only expressed yourself through song, you have also written a blog.
Yeah, a friend of mine is a naturopath in the city, and she asked me to be a part of her blog. And she wanted me to address, much like you, how music has helped me in terms of health. And so, yeah, mental illness, depression specifically, is a huge issue in my family. A lot of my family members are on antidepressants and struggle with depression in a really intense way. And I have been aware of that for 17 years now, and fight every day to against it, basically, to try and not go down that route. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but I just try to use music as my antidepressant, I guess. And so I address that in the blog. And I think I'm not ashamed to talk about it. I've always been raised that depression is like having asthma. There is nothing you can do about it. It's something that you get and you deal with. And so it was a really cool blog to be a part of, and I hope that it helps people in some way feel more comfortable about it.
And also through your music, I just imagine all the people who might come and see you for the first time and not even realize what doors you're going to be opening for them and which conversations you're starting.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess in a way it could probably be an intense show if you listen really closely, especially the newer songs. But I think I feel like I have something to say, and in a lot of ways, so many people come up to me after shows and thank me for saying what they have been wanting to say. So, if in a small, tiny way I can kind of, lead that parade, then I'm really cool with that.
That's wonderful. And for people who are interested in hearing more of your music, how can they find your music?
It's all on iTunes, I think, right now, unless I haven't paid that bill and it's been taken down. But really, my website's probably the best way, ginahorswood.com. And all my contact info is on there, and you can always just shoot me an email and I can get you hooked up. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Well, we're just about out of time, but Gina, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We will certainly put a link to Gina's Facebook page on our Facebook page so you can find her.
Awesome.
And I hope that you'll come again and visit once more.
Absolutely.
That's it for this week's Transitions, but tune in again next week.